Okay. Ja, hi, ist Tom von GermanRhymes.de. Heute sitze ich hier mit Aloe Black. How you doing, my man?
What's going on? How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. The weather's not that nice, but you look pretty nice with this new 70s outfit. So is that the whole new scheme you're gonna go through?
It just feels right now. The music sounds like it's from the early 70s, late 60s. So I feel like my fashion and that whole thing, it makes the music, to me, it makes the music sound better. It makes me feel better, like when I'm on stage performing in the new outfits. Yeah, I like it.
I like it too. It looks so authentic.
Right.
I would say. Yeah, a lot of people say like when it comes to Berlin, it's like kind of like New York in the 70s. How do you feel about that then? Like fitting in, basically.
Wow, New York in the 70s. Well, minus the Puerto Ricans and.
Of course.
But I guess so.
I mean, you probably didn't see like the real Berlin. It's more like kind of touristy areas you've been around. But like, for example, if you look over there at the wall with all the graffitis and more urban, I would say. Like, don't you think? Or
yeah, I mean, it feels like there's some things going on here. There's a little bit of sedition and some folks who are counterculture, which is really important. We need that. We need that.
So you had a lot of like your hit "I Need a Dollar" is obviously in everybody's ear.
Yeah.
And it's on the hit series "How to Make It in America." How did this whole thing happen?
Well, the song got on the series because the producers were asking Stones Throw for music, and Stones Throw sent about 20 songs, and of course "I Need a Dollar" was on there, and it got chosen. The song by itself was something that I was writing from a long time ago. The idea for "I Need a Dollar" and the lyrics and the melody, and then when I went to go work with the producers in New York, we were in the studio and we were making, jamming on new songs, jamming on new instrumentation, and in my head I was singing "I Need a Dollar" to the music that we were jamming, and it worked. So I put two and two together and basically my own mashup.
Oh, I see. Cool. So they picked your song, and how's that? Did it change you that you're like this big exposure all over the States?
I mean, it really changed my visibility, and now everybody who has seen the show knows my song. A lot of people who've never seen the show know my song, and now they can learn more about Aloe Black because they look on YouTube or they look up Stones Throw Records. They find on iTunes my old music, and I think this is all great. It's like a big steroid to my career. Every independent artist wants the opportunity for people to hear their music. And now's the time for people to hear what I do. They hear the Eminem music, Waiting Room album. They'll hear Shine Through. They'll hear all the guest appearances that I've done with artists that I like over the years, and start to learn about other things related to my life and my style.
Do you can you connect for yourself with the TV series? Did you watch it already? Or
yeah, I watched the TV show, and I think it's a good show. I mean, it definitely reflects young people nowadays. Nobody wants to get a job and work for someone else's dreams. It's kind of nice to be able to take your life by your own reins and direct and steer what you want out of life. So I've been able to do that. I used to have a job and work for a company, big consulting firm, but when they laid me off, then I had the chance to really follow my passion, which is music, and do what I want to do.
So did you while you were working there, did you perform or anything, or did you write on stuff? Because maybe if you wouldn't get fired, you wouldn't have been here. Is that
if I didn't get fired, I probably wouldn't be here. When I was working, I was definitely wanting to do music, and I would even find myself sometimes staying up late to do music and then having to go to work in the morning and being really tired. But of course, my passion was in music. So more than making money, my passion is music. And so that's why it was a good thing.
So we already talked about your clothes earlier, and while we were walking here, and you were talking about maybe you want to start your own brand, and it's like kind of what they do on the show. So did you connect with that too? Because they want to do their own brand, the crisp denim.
Oh well, I mean, I don't necessarily want to make my own brand. I just want to make my own clothes.
Yeah.
So. I just want to make my own clothes. I don't necessarily want to sell them to anybody. But,
all right. Oh.
But yeah, I mean, if people like them, okay. It's just like my music. I make music really for me, and then people like it. So I share it.
We were talking about. I was reading online on a different interview that you're like to in your car when you're in car and you drive in all over California. You get all your ideas from like what kind of car you drive, by the way, and how does it happen in the car?
Right now, I drive a Volvo 850. Before, I was driving an Infiniti. I forget what model it was, and before that was like a Ford Taurus, and before that was a Chevy something. I mean, I've had like 6 or 7 different cars, and that's because I don't buy cars brand new. I just, you know, I get whatever can get me from point A to point B. I'm not a materialistic guy. I just need function. And the only thing that, you know, for me, writing songs happens when I'm in the car because I get that quiet space. I don't play the radio. I just let myself have quiet space so that ideas can come to me. And that's one time. Another time would be when I'm cooking food.
When you're cooking food?
When I'm cooking, when I'm preparing a meal, you know, spending time in front of the oven and the stove. That is another time where ideas come to me. When I'm cleaning, cleaning the house or cleaning anything, you know, doing yard work. Something, or taking a very long walk where I can get some space, some time to myself and not have to worry about anyone else. That's when good songs come to me, good ideas.
When you cook, like, what's your favorite dish to cook?
I don't really have a favorite dish. I don't follow.
Last dish you cook?
I don't really follow recipes. I just make things up as I go along. So, what I like to cook with, my favorite tools are going to be something like. Well, it depends on the day. Actually, it would be like I really like the salad with smoked oysters, cranberry. It could be either almonds or peanuts or cashews, whatever kind of nut, and no particular sauce. I don't really need sauce because the oil from the smoked oysters. So maybe some vegetable oil, but or corn oil or some sort of vegetable oil. And then other things that I like, you know, maybe some sort of rice dish with fried rice with chicken. I enjoy cooking that up, but usually that's better the day after. So, you know, if I cook a meal with rice, then the next day I'll fry the rice up with some vegetables and stuff.
Sounds
you know,
good.
steamed asparagus.
Okay, let's come back to your album. Your first like solo album as a Aloe Blacc, Shining Through. You were more like personal. You talked about like your, for example, I'm Beautiful, your song about where you get the inspiration from your niece that she was bullied in school, or how it was.
Right.
And this is more political, I would say, the new album. And how does this happen? How did it change, or why did you want to focus on that?
Yeah, the focus on this album is more political because at the time that I was writing the lyrics for a lot of the songs, we were dealing with, of course, Obama just being elected as president. We're dealing with a huge financial crisis in the United States with the economy and joblessness. We're dealing with the housing market crashing. And a lot of these things are important for me to discuss because I feel like people need to stand up and say something about it. Media, popular media, is not going to address it. The news media isn't even going to address it properly because, of course, corporations own them and they're going to have a biased opinion about how they present the status. So I think a voice from the street is important. And I'm lucky that, you know, HBO picked up I Need a Dollar because now people are going to be looking for the album to hear everything else that I'm talking about, and they're going to get these messages.
So would you say your album is more just your thoughts, what you're thinking, or is it more a message or philosophy you want to give back to the community?
It's a message and a philosophy, and I would hope that people adopt the concept that as a citizen of whatever country or area you live in, you're responsible for the livelihood that you live and that other people live. Each one of us are responsible for everyone else. The reason why we elect leaders is because those leaders are supposed to carry out our wishes for what we feel is the proper responsibility to be taken care to take care of. Unfortunately, people forgot that they have the obligation to care. We are so interested in what we want to see on TV, what we want to buy from the store, that we forget what really is important, and is that's our relationship to one another as a society, as a culture, as a community.
Speaking of about politics, for example, the issue of the health reform, what's your standpoint on that? Is it like, are you pro the new model?
Well, definitely we need health reform in the United States. Everybody should have access to health care and good health care, just as it is here in Europe and in a lot of the countries where there's universal health care paid for by the people, of course, through their taxes, and the government uses their tax money properly. Unfortunately, in America, not only do they misuse the taxpayers' money, they don't get enough tax money from the corporations. So there's a heavy burden on the citizens to be giving money to a system that's going to get misused, and there's no burden on the corporations who just take the money and pocket it. Now, if you look at society from very crude economic standpoint, resources are finite if you want to take that approach. And these finite resources means that they need to be distributed properly so that everybody can get a piece. Otherwise, somebody's going to have too much and other people will have too little. Well, the people with too much need to wake the hell up and say, okay, I don't need this much money in the bank today. I can definitely give some money over here so this person can eat, because this is my responsibility as a member of the community. Problem in the United States is nobody recognizes themselves as a member of any community anymore. Everybody's just an individual. Well, what does that guy have to do with me? You know, I live in Los Angeles, so you should have some sort of obligation to other people who live in Los Angeles, but nobody feels that. Say, no, I don't have any obligation to that guy. But that's not true. This is not how societies are built. Right now we're in a huge fantasy that just says everybody's an individual, you do what you want, and it doesn't matter. You smoke a cigarette, throw it on the ground, who cares? It doesn't matter. That's not true. It does matter. You shouldn't smoke a cigarette, number one, because it's polluting the air that everybody else has to breathe. Number two, you shouldn't throw it on the ground, because it's not your ground to throw it on, it's our ground. If that's the way you feel, I'm coming to your house and I'm going to throw all kinds of stuff on your floor. And then you'll see what community is. You'll understand.
Talking about that point that everybody owns like a place and as a community, is it like, where did you get that inspiration from, like, or what is the inspiration scholarly wise? Is it more Marxism, or like, because like,
nah, the idea comes from the indigenous peoples of the earth. Comes from the Bushmen in Africa, comes from the American indigenous people like the Sioux Indians or the Cherokee. It comes from the indigenous peoples of Panama. It comes from people who live from the earth. And people who are struggling now, like in Brazil, who live in the forest. They cut down trees in the forest in order to build their house. They only cut 1 or 2 trees. But now corporations are buying huge plots of the forest where people live, and the people can't even cut a tree down in their own home, in their own forest, to build a new part of their home, because it's owned by a corporation. So regardless of whatever, I could quote any scholarly theory, but none of that matters. None of that matters. What matters is the indigenous people who really understand what living is about and being human is about. Being a human, being an animal who has sentient thought and concepts and ideas, and doesn't just live in this fantasy world with buildings and cars and TVs, who actually understand what it means to grow food, not just go to the grocery store and hope that somebody already did it for them.
So how do you live that philosophy for yourself?
It's damn near impossible to live that philosophy in this.
I would say as like a star, or like a person which is more seen by more people or exposed to more people. Is that even harder?
It's not harder to try to achieve it. I'm going to work as hard as I can to do what I can to express these ideas and these thoughts, and then begin to pattern my life after them. But really, it's damn near impossible to really achieve it. We've been lucky enough, I've been lucky enough, to live a very comfortable life, because People before me were curious and they developed ideas and concepts, and other people were greedy, so they developed concepts that helped them sell things to make our lives easier. But the easier we make our lives, the harder we make it on other people. Right now I have a cell phone in my pocket. You probably have a cell phone, and everybody watching probably has a cell phone. But none of us really, until you find out, none of us really care that the minerals that help make certain chips in cell phones are being extracted out of areas in Africa where warlords are killing and slaughtering people so that they can extract these minerals out of their homelands and remove them so that companies can come in and take these minerals. I mean, is it my fault? Yeah, it is my fault. It's my fault because I wasn't aware enough. I didn't have the concern enough to think there are resources that went into making this product. Where did the resources come from, and who did I take them from?
So would you consider like make it as cell phone fair trade like they do with coffee, for example?
There should be cell phone fair trade. There should be scientists who are compassionate enough to think, okay, we can make cell phones without using this mineral that's causing this much harm to this many people. That's all it takes. All it takes is a few scientists to think better. Even more than that, what it takes is people with cell phones to stand up and say, you know what, I'm not going to buy another cell phone. I'm going to keep this one that I have. I don't need a new one. It works fine. Dizzy Gillespie didn't need a new trumpet.
Let's come back to your work, to musical work. You have another project out called B, where you and Cradle, is it Cradle? Or?
Yeah, the Cradle Orchestra from Japan. I had a chance to guest appear on one of their singles years ago, and then they had the idea to do an entire album featuring me as the singer. And so I went to Japan, and we basically wrote an entire album about really social and ecological concepts.
Exactly. So is that more like the first step for your new album, which is coming out?
It was almost, you could consider it a first step. I didn't even put that together, but yes, it was the first album to come out with this particular